Welcome. This week I wanted to give red armor a try, inspired by the vampires from the Warhammer universe. So follow along to see how I got this result. I began from a zenithal undercoat to help me better differentiate one detail from another. Using red and purple, I began to very loosely sketch the lights and shadows, following what the zenithal undercoat showed. Since the model had a lot of detail, I diluted the paint a pinch more than I normally would in order to help the paint get everywhere. After going over the model once, I applied a second coat just to get a more solid color. Right now I'm not worrying about transitions or achieving full opacity. Here you can see an example of how the bottom of the knees and the side of the armor were left in shadow, among other things. Now I'll proceed to better define each panel from one another, just by using heavily diluted paint. If you already count with proper washes, you can use them, but it's not necessary. I applied the previously used purple, but heavily diluted over the red parts, and heavily diluted black over the purple. I'd advise you to work one part at a time and not bothering with cleaning your brush when going from color to color. So for example, I applied the purple over the chest and went straight ahead to the black, allowing both paints to naturally mix where they met. From here on, it's all brushwork. I'll be picking out the edges and volumes exposed to the light. For this first pass of red, you can help yourself by using the side of the brush, so it only catches the raised details. I don't have to mind if I highlight too much or too little for now, since I'm basically establishing the overall red color. I'd go as far as to say that you could dry brush this step. Here you can see how I paid little to no attention to the parts that are hard to reach or in shadow, which basically are the ones where the black wash was applied. While on the more exposed parts like the chest, I went over all the surface. I then proceeded to highlight with a brighter, more intense red. I picked at all the previously highlighted edges and surfaces, while still leaving some of the previous red visible. If you find that your brighter red jumps out too much, you can do an intermediate highlight with a 50-50 mix of both reds. Red acrylics, however, tend to require a couple of coats to build up their saturation, so this wasn't necessary for me. I built up the colors slowly, one layer at a time, and with each one of them I began to pay less and less attention to the shadows and the areas next to them. Here you can see the difference between both legs as the red color begins to build up. Now we move on to the Dealbreaker when highlighting red. Whether it be with white or yellow, we'll end up moving towards pink or orange, which are both undesirable results for that true red armor. What I did was to make some very light flesh tone and apply it on the sharpest edges within the more exposed areas to the light. I then applied the bright red over those highlights in a glaze consistency. This will essentially turn them back to red. However, this diluted red applied over the pale pink will yield an even brighter red compared to the one we previously built up through multiple coats. With this method, you can finish up with the brightest, truly red highlights as possible. I, however, went for a more technical approach, aiming more for the non-metallic metal style, and reapplied the pale pink but very sparsely, only over some but not all the sharpest edges to create points of light, which could have been enhanced with tiny dots of that light skin color. But with these tiny highlights I was satisfied already. Once again, the shadows were left untouched just like the feet, while I paid much more attention to the upper torso. And even on the belt, I imagined the light source coming from the top left and hitting only one side of it. And from further away, here is how most people will end up seeing the armor when at the table. Thank you for watching the full video. If you'd like to see me paint something in particular, make sure to leave it in the comments.